That's a big one.
This is Montana.
That's my one. You know.
Okay, and check it out. Even when people have
This
their
is
dads,
what
There's
people behind the scenes
their dad is always
in the
at
industry,
work.
being an actor, producer, fighter. This is some of the stuff that they talk about.
Sometimes a person's dad is. Sometimes a person doesn't have a dad, so they don't grow up with a dad. Sometimes the person has a dad, but he's always at work or in the bar, so they still grow up without a dad.
I think that one of the relevant issues on that one is what contribution a male figure makes to the impact of a young man and a young woman. Because a father figure to a daughter is a huge dynamic difference between the son and the daughter, but so relevant and important, you know, because women who don't grow up with that father have a tendency to question their ability to love or their worth, self-worth. Why wasn't I being loved? How am I going to love when I don't know how? Because and that's always been something that I've been very conscious of, you know.
I think maybe too, sometimes they don't know what a father's supposed to actually be like. When they meet somebody who's kind of like a father.
I know. And you know, the closest person I have that's a father to me is Saginaw. And he didn't adopt me until like 2 years ago. So technically I didn't have a dad till 2 years ago. Because he was the man that made me be responsible for my voice, my actions, and the morality of who I surround myself with. And that is something you learn from somebody. I don't, you know, and my mom did her best, but that's something you learn.
So something like that, when Saginaw was at our house, after the video shoot was done, he gave us a bunch of words, and he gave us words of encouragement. My little brother was there, the youngest one, and we have the same daddies. My dad was at work, always working, but we never got to see him work, or at the bar. So my little brother caught on to listen to every word he said. He's like, man, I wish that was my dad. I was like, whoa, that's a trip.
And the sad reality too is my dad did come and find me 2 years ago on Facebook, and it's been the most disappointing thing ever in my life. I wish he would have never found me, because then I had to hear the excuse of him abandoning me because he was drunk, and then telling me that he's back because God told him to. And I struggle to find the meaning behind a holy roller when you're not drinking anymore, but you're not repairing any of the damage that you did by drinking. You're just saying, God, you know, I'm living a new way of life.
It's one of those making amends type of things.
You know, he did it, I think.
Is that one of the 12 steps?
Yes, it is. But see, he's not in the 12-step program. He's being a holy roller. He's saying, I'm sober.
I am in a 12-step program, obviously, why I enter.
But he didn't, so because he didn't do the 12-step program, he's not taking responsibility for the action, the result of his actions. And he, to this day, 2 years later, you know, he didn't even send me a birthday. He got the opportunity to have me back in his life. I did not even get a birthday card this last year.
I got some of that, but what I learned is that, you know, I got an opportunity to go to Pine Ridge. And one of the things about Pine Ridge, I said that a lot of natives are very broken within our culture. And what happens is like, you know, a lot of the women, like, they'll drink or whatever, they'll take their kids and they'll make sure that they're, you know, they'll go to bingo, they'll go to the casino, they'll go drinking, hanging out with friends, and so on and so forth. And the father is never around, though. But this baby is bouncing from grandmother to grandfather to, you know, friends and stuff like that. So for the first time that they may hear, you're important and you're important to me, or I love you, is like whenever they're about 13 or 14 years old, and they're like a preteen or you know, and they're starting to go through.
And that's late.
The frontal lobe is where the feelings live, and they say like your frontal lobe where the feelings live, it's not like fully mature until like the age of like, you know, 23, 24, 25, somewhere there. So the first time that you get your heart broken, you have all of your feelings invested with like a boyfriend.
Yep.
And they're just crushed, and they have nobody to talk to. Nobody that's invested in their feelings.
Die. It's that where the heart makes you feel like you're gonna die when you're not. You just hurt. Your feelings are hurt passing through a phase. No one dies from you know, not falling in love. I mean,
you know, sometimes we talk about like our dads weren't there, or our elders weren't there, or they had these problems and issues that affected us, and it is true, they affected us. But every generation that ended up broken was broken because since the colonization or invasion, every generation takes one more step to repair itself. So even though their time with what they had, and some of it still sucks, but we gotta take it one step up.
I mean, you know, and the reality too is one of the most relevant issues of all of this is that this alcohol ruined my family.
Yeah.
That's it. Alcohol ruined my family. Crushed them all. My grandfather wasn't present because he was drunk. My mom, she's 28 years sober, creator blessed, but she wasn't present because she was drinking drugs and alcohol to not understand how to feel loved. You know, my aunt, my grandma, my uncle, all sober, all in the program. My grandma has like 18 years. My uncle has like 16 years. I mean, but alcohol really screwed with my family. So I can imagine how it's impacted, you know, a nation.
Yeah.
I'm just one little seed amongst a, you know, huge, big mass.
In my family, there was a lot of there was alcohol. That did cause some problems, but the main thing that caused a lot of the deaths was the they didn't know how to eat the diet.
Yeah.
So say sugar and salt.
Yeah, butter, sugar, and salt.
And
Man.
cigarettes.
Oh,
The cigarettes is what actually got everybody, like the ones that I know.
You know, it's crazy too, because tobacco is still such a part of our ceremony.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's hard to look at it as a negative when it's spiritually.
But it's
that's
the
a positive.
packaged tobacco.
I know it's Marlboro Lights. It's
Marlboro
not.
Lights,
Yeah, I know.
You know where the most presidents, the U.S. presidents, come out of? What state?
Oh, they just had us on the news.
Marlboro County.
No, Virginia. And in Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, tobacco. Yep.
That's
So whenever people like go to like convenience stores and you know stuff like that, though, you see all of that tobacco. You know, back in the day, they didn't have all those pesticides and stuff that lived in there and tried to kill all those. And now that they know that they have cancer fighting, you know, they got Philip Morris, and Philip Morris is like one of the biggest distributors as far as cigarettes.
It's the biggest.
It is the biggest though, but they also have the Altria group, which is like when Philip Morris like started getting all those, you know, started getting sued left and right. Though they have a second company.
Yeah, but it still is.
Yeah, it still is.
I know.
But man, I remember thinking like, because modern day you have oil money. People like all those guys come from Texas now. You got Rick Perry that's running for president. You had George H.W. Bush. You had George W. Bush. You had all these guys.
Legacy was ridiculous.
Exactly, but
Ridiculous.
oil money these days pay for presidencies, and Texas is ranked like second. But man, when it comes to tobacco and stuff, they are ranked number one. That's because like most of all the old ones, they pay for campaign financing, all that stuff.
It was all through the slave trade too. Went from cotton to tobacco.
Yeah,
You know,
that's absolutely right.
it's interesting how
Crazy.
that all plays.
So now we will sing Tobacco Road.
No, they will do anything to keep you hooked.
Oh,
Just
there
say
you go.
like, oh man, you're starting to mess with political money now though. Oh, you want to get sober and clean, and you want to get, you know, you want to clean up your life. No, we can't have that.
It makes me think of who makes American spirits, because now they also use
I think Philip Morris just
branding, native branding to. I look as a positive thing. You go, oh look, you know, these are native cigarettes. They're supposed to be better than all the other ones.
Yeah.
That would probably be the only time that someone would say, that's better. That's something native that's better than everything else. Because they don't say that about nothing native. No one says anything about native is better.
I
than
know, man. One of my last fights was at Spirit Lake Casino, but the actual town, they named it Devil's Lake. Why would anybody name anything Devil's Lake? You know, a white person named that, and it's just, it is what it is, you know. And they just like, well, you know what? The federal government says, you know, this is your reservation. You know, we can't technically take it, but you know what? Just to kind of give you a middle finger while we're leaving, we're going to name it Devil's Lake.
Change the name.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened,
Is that
man.
in Texas or?
No, it was in North Dakota.
In North Dakota.
There's a lot of places like that in Texas too. When I was hanging out with some of the stock, that's what they told me. All their rivers, all their places, the Devil's Creek, the Devil's this, the Devil's that.
Yeah.
Those were their sacred grounds, their sacred spots.
That's why they called it. That's why they called it the devil.
Anything native was the devil.
Now, if they had American spirits, they'd be like, "This is better." But that's it. That's the only thing I've heard anybody ever say.
In El Sereno, we did have a place called the Devil's Bridge. If you rode your bike up there, you might not come back.
Is that like saying? Is that like saying Bloody Mary in the bathroom?
Yeah.
Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary.
We're on 10 minutes, so I gotta
stop,
shut it down.
Please. Now it's getting a silly conversation. We had some good.
Thank y'all for hanging out with us.
We had some good pointy topics there.
This is Rick Mora. Real quick, I'm gonna let him introduce himself.
Peace. Rick Mora coming at you. Yaki and Apache.
He's actually done quite a few motion pictures with Kevin James. Go ahead and name off your cast. He's got some different
Emily
things.
Watson, Michael Rappaport. I've worked with Rob Pattinson. I've worked with, Peter Fasinelli and Nikki Reed. Jeez, my greats. Saginaw Grant. That's my dog right there. That's my film. That's my road dog.
Heck yeah, man. Coyote, introduce yourself.
Coyote, Chicano Yaki Coyote, right here. And I worked with, right now today, this guy and that guy. And, Justin